Welcome to the 15-Minute Financial Feast podcast, bringing you 15-minute segments to help you retire with purpose on time. We're serving up food for thought and bread for the head. Are you hungry to learn? Here are your hosts, Mark Triplett and Troy Westendorf.
Hey everyone, welcome to another 15-minute financial feast. My name is Mark Triplett.
And my name is Troy Westendorf.
Today we are going to be serving up some bread for the head. Are you hungry to learn?
I'm hungry.
Of course you are. You're a big guy. He eats a lot.
It's early too. It's only 10:20.
I know. You probably should crank up a smoothie there.
The smoothie machine that sounds through the whole office and you can't hear a thing going on.
Yeah, that's I'm to blame for that. So today we're going to talk about the modern concept of retirement. Where did that originate from? And why is it flawed? And then we're going to wrap up with a Japanese philosophy of Ikigai, pronounced Ikigai, not Ikigai. I heard a YouTuber, a TED Talk delivered, and the guy said, he was talking about the pronunciation of Ikigai, and he said, it is not pronounced Ikigai. An Ikigai would be me in a lime green Speedo on the beach. That would be an Ikigai.
That is true. I did see that one.
So anyway, so that's where we're gonna start. Is kind of where did this modern theme of retirement come from? So Troy, where did retirement, as we think of it today in our country, where did retirement come from?
Well, Mark, you can thank me. Because it came from the Germans, and I'm German. So I will take partial credit for that, retirement. But the whole idea, Mark, in 1889, it was a German Chancellor, Otto von Bismarck. Now, isn't that a German name?
That is a German name.
Mine does not sound as cool as that. Invented the idea of retirement, though. So his claim at the time was those who were disabled from work by age and had a well-grounded claim to care from the state. So what happened is they wanted to address the youth unemployment by paying those 70 and older to leave the workforce. So that's kind of how this all originated.
Yeah, and you think about this. So this was back when the labor force toiled in physical labor, body wears down, and as folks become older and disabled from that grind and invalid, that the state now owes them the ability to transition out of the workforce, then making way for younger workers to enter the workforce. And today we're living longer. People are able to stay in the workforce longer if they choose to do so. Oh, and by the way, what was the life expectancy back then of somebody? Well, it wasn't even 70, right? No. So if you made it that far.
Well, think of the jobs back then. I mean, it wasn't nothing like, look at the computer age that we're living in and the technology and the type of jobs we have now compared to back then.
You're talking about the Industrial Revolution. People are moving, some are still working on the farms, but they're moving into the cities. They're working in factories, coal mines, all of this other hard physical labor.
Not easy.
Bodies wearing down. Like I said, many didn't even make it to age 70. No. But that's kind of where the idea of this, transitioning out of the workforce, basically rendering yourself useless to society and getting a paycheck from the state, the government, came from. That's very different from where we are today. And that's one of the reasons why we think that the modern concept of retirement is flawed. At one time, the average lifespan was less than 70 years of age. Today, folks are living well into their 90s. Yep. Invalidity and disability as a result of hard physical labor, although it still occurs, it's less likely today to be a concern. Literally working yourself to the bone just is not a reality for most Americans today. And there are a lot of folks who are very productive well into their late 60s, even into their 70s, and want to continue to work. So why would that person have to lay down everything they're doing and making a contribution to society just because retirement says you should? And many folks today consider retirement age, or folks that are retirement age are extremely productive. And so we think that a loss of sense of your purpose can be extremely hazardous to your health.
Absolutely.
If somebody were to reach a particular quote, air quotes, retirement age, and then just leave the workforce and do nothing productive anymore, their health, both mental and physical, will go downhill.
Yep.
We've seen that play out
Definitely.
over and again. So this brings us to this Japanese philosophy of Ikigai. So what is Ikigai, and how do we find our Ikigai?
It's kind of crazy though. You look at some of these studies, and the Okinawa Centurion study, men and women live an average of 7 years longer than Americans. Now that's incredible to me, because 7 years is getting close to a decade.
Yeah, it is.
So when you look at 7 years, I'm thinking, man, what do I need to change here? Because I want that.
And the Okinawa Centurion study also concluded that Okinawans have one of the longest disability-free life expectancies in the world.
Which is another amazing. I mean, the more I read on this and the more I listened to it, I'm like, holy cow, we need to do something different, because you always say you don't want to live too long if you can't function correctly, but these guys are living longer and they're functioning. They're not having the disabilities.
They're not. And we found a paper where we were researching this. Dan Buettner and fellow researchers from the National Geographic studied why Okinawans live so long. And among other things, Okinawans eat off of smaller plates. They stop eating when they're 80% full.
Oh,
they have a beautiful setup where in their society, their social groups start out as young infants and they slowly all grow old together. So there's a lot of community.
I thought that was amazing too, the community aspect of it.
And you know what the Okinawans use for a word for retirement? They don't have one.
Literally nothing.
There isn't one. There's literally nothing in their language that describes the concept of stopping working completely. It doesn't exist.
Awesome. I mean, it's when our happiest clients when they retire are ones that have something that they're going on to from the workplace.
Well, even in our discovery visit.
Oh yeah.
That's one of the questions we ask. 6 months after you retire, what are you going to do with yourself? Right? You can only rearrange the furniture in the house so many times. You can only clean out the garage
and the closets, and
you can only play so many rounds of golf before that becomes mundane, and your peers are out doing something else productive, and you're left alone. So, having something that gets you up in the morning is really important, and that's really what Ikigai is all about. One of the healthiest societies in the world has a word, Ikigai, which roughly translates into the reason you wake up in the morning. The Oxford Dictionary actually defines Ikigai as a motivating force, something or someone that gives a person a sense of purpose or a reason for living. More generally, it may refer to something that brings pleasure or fulfillment. And I think it's so important for folks who are nearing that transition to retirement to really think about what is going to get you up and motivate you when you're no longer forced to get up at 8 a.m. when the alarm goes off. Right? What is going to be that motivating factor in your life? Maybe it's grandkids. Maybe it's volunteering for local community charity or something.
Church,
maybe it's starting a second business. Or starting a business rather, a small business or something that you're really passionate about doing, but having that purpose and that meaningful drive to get up every morning.
That's crazy too. They talk about a 7-year study here, Mark, is it Sendai, Japan? More than 43,000 Japanese adults were taken in this study, considering factors such as age, gender, education, body mass index, cigarette use, alcohol consumption, exercise, employment, perceived stress, history of disease. They asked every single one of these 43,000 people, do you have Iki in your life?
Yeah. Do you have that purpose? Do you have that something or someone that gives you an excuse to get up in the morning? And participants reporting having an Ikigai at the beginning of the study were more likely to be married, educated, and employed. They had higher levels of self-rated health and lower levels of stress. At the end of the 7-year study, 95% of those folks with an Ikigai were still alive. Only 83% of those without made it that long.
Crazy.
So finding your Ikigai is important. You can call it your purpose, your reason to get up in the morning, whatever you want to call it. Japanese call it Ikigai. There are 4 directions to Ikigai. Number 1, do what you love. Number 2, do what you're good at. Number 3, do what the world needs. And I think this is important. Find something that makes an impact. And number 4, do what you can be rewarded for. Now, that reward can come in monetary or it can come in personal satisfaction. But if you can manage to find something that hits those 4 directions at one time, then that is a good purpose or reason to get up in the morning. What we found basically in our own practice is that for the most part, most folks we serve don't actually want to retire and do nothing.
Right.
What they tend to want to do is to get up and have something to do that they love. And some of the folks we serve, retirement to them means transitioning out of the daily grind that they've been doing for 20, 30 years, and maybe not separating from the workforce, but doing something that they enjoy and that they love for less compensation, because that's not a concern anymore. They're not concerned about making as much money as they can and putting as much money into retirement plans as they can. Retirement might be transitioning to a much lower, less stress, lower paying, fun to do thing where they enjoy doing it and they don't have to worry about finances because they're financially independent. But retirement doesn't necessarily mean I walk away from my employer or the employment I've been doing for the last 30 years and do nothing. In fact, that is probably a very big mistake. Your mind and your body will decline if you do that. You've got to have something to get yourself up in the morning. So that's it for this week's show.
Yeah, that's good. One of the things that stick out to me in here, Mark, is being married, educated, and employed were the most likely in the study. And I've seen studies like this over and over, the impact that has on someone, whether they are, I don't know if success is a word, but to be successful in life or not. And it's 3 components, and it seems so minor to have something have such a big impact, and how we can change a lot of, you think about the purpose on a lot of these different communities throughout our country that could have an impact by just starting to change these small things to have a huge impact in their communities.
Yeah, you're right. And community is important. Family is important. Eating well is important. And physical fitness. I mean, that's what we're besides being financial planners, we're very active physically. Go to the gym regularly. We encourage our clients to do so because there's nothing, to me, there's nothing more sorrowful than somebody who makes it to retirement, has all of the financial resources in place, but no vitality left to enjoy it. Yep. That's terrible. Agree. So we want our folks to not only be financially fit, but physically fit as well. There's a whole other podcast on that we did in the past. So anyway, that's it for this week's show. We hope you enjoy the topic. Hopefully it was some good food for thought, bread for the head. Remember, every dollar has a purpose.
Every dollar has a timeline.
I want you to go out and retire with purpose.
And on time.
My name is Mark Triplett.
I'm Troy Westendorf.
We've enjoyed having you. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the 15-Minute Financial Feast podcast. Remember, every dollar has a purpose and every dollar has a timeline. If you have questions about today's topic, schedule a call with a team member. Visit www.mypt5.com. Until next time, be sure you're taking steps to retire with purpose on time. Mark Triplett is an investment advisor representative of and advisory services offered through Royal Fund Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Nothing contained in this program should be considered an offer to buy or sell securities. Different investments have different risks associated with them, and not all investments are appropriate for all investors.